Everybody got to play with their 5090 besides me. TikTok is in a weird situationship with the US right now, and AMD has delayed their 9070 launch because Nvidia's pricing was too good, allegedly. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. As a reminder, this Friday, finally, we have the drawing for our i9-14900KF RTX 4090 gaming PC over on our Twitch channel. Come check us out, twitch.tv/UFD Tech. Would love to have you over there. And I know, it's just a 4090 that we're giving away. I don't have any 5090s, and it turns out that a lot of other people did, because going on the internet, you'll see that the unboxing embargo for the RTX 5090 happened yesterday, with everybody posting pictures of their nice shiny new toy that comes in a different packaging. As you can see right here, it has a little boxing situation that reflects the Founders Edition shape of the card, but it's an eco-friendly box that they are releasing with it, and people doing side-by-side postings of the 4090 and the 5090, you getting to see just how slim this new card actually is. No more details on all of this, no thermal testing, no noise testing on any of that kind of stuff. We're expecting all of that review details to come out this Thursday for the Founders Edition and any regular non-OC card, and then the third-party cards will have their reviews dropping on Friday. And again, the release date for these GPUs is going to be next Thursday. But the eco-friendly packaging is made of paper fibers. It's supposed to be inkless and just be better for the environment. But what's that? Oh, my 5090's here. Let me go get it. Oh, this is way bigger than this. Here you go. We'll definitely have a review out on time, for sure. And I'll make sure to show it to you guys live streaming with today's video sponsor. Are you tired of looking like there's Vaseline on your lens every time you hop on a video call? Well, OBSBot was tired of it too. That's why they dropped the OBSBot Meet 2 and also sponsored this video. The OBSBot Meet 2 is the smallest 4K webcam available. And when I say small, I mean small. Just look at it compared to an AirPods Pro case. This nifty little guy comes in 3 great colors: Cloud White, Aurora Green, and the Space Gray we have here. The Meet 2 is also super user-friendly, being a plug-and-play device with a magnetic mount and a 1/4-inch screw for compatibility with most tripods. With AI-backed features like autofocus and auto-framing, the support for multi-camera setups, and integration with OSC, Global Hotkey, and Stream Deck, it's kind of wild OBSBot packs such a big video upgrade in such a tiny package. At the core of the Meet 2 is its 1/2-inch CMOS sensor with an f1.8 aperture, HDR capabilities, and phase detection autofocus, capable of delivering 4K video at 30 FPS or 1080p video at 60 FPS, with the footage you see now being recorded directly from the Meet 2. Low light is also not an issue for the Meet 2 thanks to the 1.8 aperture, delivering brighter images in lower light environments, so when your stream runs late and you're only lit up by the glow of your 12th losing League of Legends match in a row, at least you'll still look good. At least your camera quality will look good. Also keeping you looking sharp are OBSBot's advanced AI features, enabling real-time detection in your scene, group mode that adjusts to include new subjects in frame, or portrait mode that allows for perfect framing on vertical videos. Possibly coolest of all are the gesture controls, which let you activate autofocus by showing a palm near your face or zooming in and out with an L-shaped gesture. And when you're not using your Meet 2, it comes with a magnetic privacy cover that also can keep your lens clean and an auto sleep configuration, so it's only on when you need it to be. You can check out the OBSBot Meet 2 for yourself right now via the link in the description below to change the way you stream and do meetings. Thanks to OBSBot for sponsoring today's video. Well, while I don't have a 5090 to show off on an OBSBot webcam right now, allegedly, we might have some coming in the future, but we do have some preliminary benchmarks coming out with regards to the 5090, not the 5080, in various different applications. These are all synthetic benchmarks, but showing a good indication of how performant the 5090 is going to be compared to the 4090. So in a Blender benchmark, which more than likely is just using CUDA acceleration and not necessarily relying on those tensor cores, the 5090 is looking to be about 36% faster than the 4090, and the 5090D is about 40% faster than the 4090D. And part of the reason for that is that the 5090D is not cut down for anything besides AI and crypto mining, whereas the 4090D actually did have some CUDA cores shaved off, so it's going to be a bigger jump that way. But we also have Geekbench, OpenCL, and Vulkan test for the 5090, and it's several different runs. If we take the average of the best runs right here, in Geekbench 6 Vulkan, what we find out is that the 5090 is about 33% faster than the 4090. In OpenCL, it's a little less. It's more like 15%. But again, this is synthetic benchmarks. It looks like raster performance is going to be between 30 and 35% faster than the RTX 4090. You're paying 25% more dollars for it, so it's outpacing its performance just a little bit. But obviously, Nvidia relying heavily on that extra VRAM, that extra VRAM bandwidth, and also all of the AI upscaling to help potentially sell these GPUs in case that matters to you. Additionally, there's a review of the RTX 5090D that's making its rounds online, just kind of indicating that it's not going to be a very good GPU for overclocking. You can do different tweaking with it, but it's not going to be something that people can buy and potentially overlock and unclock. I said those words correctly. But in case you're on an RTX 30 series and you've been staring in envy at the people with the 4060s and the potentially 5070s, being like, why can't I get all of these fancy features? Well, in an interview with Digital Foundry, one of the Nvidia higher-ups discussed all of the details with regards to how they could potentially bring frame generation to RTX 30 series cards, and essentially it could potentially be happening. It's just a matter of prioritization, and they made it happen for the 40 and 50 series, and whether or not they go back to the 30 series. They're not saying no, they're just saying it hasn't worked out just yet. It's a potentiality, a possible maybe. Who knows? The only thing that I know is that when watching this interview, what caught my eyes, those are Falcon Northwest Talon PCs right behind him, and yeah, I like those. And I like when Reece saves you money on tech stuff, so let's see what he has for you today.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals on the internet. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hope you guys had a good weekend, and hey, let's jump straight into the deals today. Because first up, we have this EVGA XR1 Lite 1080p 60 external capture card going for only $29.99, making it $70 off. It is currently back ordered, but hey, if you need a capture card, I literally cannot give you a better deal than that if you don't mind waiting. But then next up, we have this Patriot Viper Venom DDR5 RAM kit, featuring 32 gigs at 6000 megahertz at CL30 for only $74.99 with included promo code. But then lastly, today we have the Razer Kraken Hello Kitty Edition wireless headset. We all know someone in our lives who would unironically rock this, so it's going for only $84.99, making it $35 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'll hand you back to Brad for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Oh, Reece, let's talk about what's going on with the TikTok ban, the deal with that. I know that you were affected by it because even though you live in South Africa, your geolocation, your TikTok account was set up in the United States, so you were banned because it would actually, you couldn't use a VPN to get around it because it was based on your account's location, not your internet's location. Wild stuff. So after we filmed the last episode of Hot News late last week, turns out the Supreme Court decided to uphold the TikTok ban here in the United States, which meant that it was supposed to go dark by January 19th. Now, this is despite the fact that both the Biden administration and the Trump administration both said that they didn't really have plans to enforce this legislation. But the Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, decided that, hey, this can proceed. It's not unconstitutional, at least according to their interpretation. So that actually did proceed on Saturday, actually, so that they were ahead of the January 19th deadline, but that included a couple of other things that I think people weren't familiar were actually also affected by this and owned by ByteDance. Lemonate's another app. CapCut is the editing software that a lot of TikTok users use to actually put their videos on the platform. And then Marvel Snap, which this one took me by surprise because I had no idea that was actually owned by ByteDance. All of those went dark at the same time. However, less than 24 hours later, TikTok came back up for US users with them saying that President Trump is working on a long-term solution with them and essentially saying that it's thanks to the new administration that they could potentially be back, even though the previous administration also said that they weren't going to enforce this, and this was just kind of up to the next administration on all of that was going on there. However, it's not that clean cut where you can just access TikTok. If you potentially didn't have it on your phone or deleted it, you can't go to the Apple App Store as of right now and download it. I haven't checked on the Google Play Store, but I just searched it after I heard that it was back, and yes, Apple is not listing it where you are able to download TikTok via Apple just because they don't want to be caught in any potential fines that might be making its way moving forward. So there's still a lot of details to be worked out. The United States just got a new president yesterday, so a lot of things are happening. In the meantime, TikTok might not necessarily be the highest priority of things to be resolved. But one of the things that I've been thinking about as this TikTok ban is happening, as a content creator myself, thinking of people who rely on that platform exclusively for their income or provision for their teams, I've just been wondering, like, many of them don't have a skill set outside of TikTok because of the robust ecosystem that TikTok gave creators to not only post on that platform, but also edit in the platform, which makes it such a big deal that not only TikTok gets banned, but CapCut got banned because the application that people use to edit their videos is now gone, and they have to completely relearn a new software, not having those skills in a place that's off that platform. However, Instagram announcing that they have a new video editing app called Edits that's gonna come out in the next month or so. It's going to be incomplete because they're trying to rush it to be more like TikTok. Also, Twitter announcing that they have a dedicated video tab in order to have competition. Blue Sky also having trending videos, and allegedly now ByteDance might potentially be open to a sale to the US, just like what was initially suggested by the legislation that was passed here. Whether or not that's gonna be Mr. Beast or otherwise remains to be seen. It's a confusing situation. The details aren't fully clear. If you had TikTok on your phone and you didn't get rid of it, you should be able to access it in the United States right now. For how long? It's not quite clear. Nothing's been made official. It could potentially still get banned again. And the Speaker of the House at the US House of Representatives has affirmed that they believe that it should still be banned and that the legislation was passed because it had significant bipartisan support. 9-0 decision by the Supreme Court on that. And it really is just going to come down to the executive branch here in the United States to enforce it. It's a mess right now. But what's also a mess is what EA's doing with their apps. EA Origin's gonna be dead April 17th, 2025. They want you to stop using it because Windows 11 technically does not support 32-bit apps, and EA is upset with this. It does actually support 32-bit apps, you just have to run them in compatibility mode, but EA doesn't want to do that. So instead, they're saying download the EA app, which is slightly different, I guess, and that's gonna replace Origin. So you can't use Origin anymore, you gotta switch over to the EA app, but regardless of lack of 32-bit support, at least it's not like Apple, who like just completely did away with 32-bit support. You can't even use those programs anymore. It's frustrating. But speaking of technologically stuff moving forward, tomorrow is the announcement of the new Samsung Galaxy S25 series, whether that's the Ultra Plus or regular. The Galaxy S25 Unpacked event is taking place tomorrow. We're expecting a whole slew of new smartphones and accessories to come alongside of that. I just also want to mention that if you use our affiliate code that's in the video description and you just sign up to reserve it, no money down, you don't have to actually commit to buying anything. It's just saying, hey, I'm potentially interested in buying an S25 Plus, Ultra, or what have you. You'll get $50 in Samsung credits, additional savings, whatever the heck that means, and a chance to win $5,000 in Samsung credit. It's $50 off the phone in case you were thinking about buying it anyways, if you fill out your details for the reservation of the next generation of Samsung phones, which there should be plenty stock of. But according to multiple reports, the RTX 5080 and 5090 might not have a ton of stock. Now, this primary source is coming out from Germany saying that retail stock for these GPUs will be extremely limited. It's going to be very difficult for you to pick them up at a retailer, them saying that Mind Factory, Case King, and several other places are going to be your best chances of getting these GPUs. However, this is not the only report that I've seen with regards to limited stock. I've also heard of it here in the United States that Nvidia might not have enough supply in order to meet demand, which likely means that you either have to go to Micro Center and be in line in order to pick them up, or have a bot that's going to snipe it for you on whatever website happens to be selling it, because otherwise you stand no chance at getting one of these. Potentially, and this is just alleged, this is going to be a slow rollout paper launch. There's going to be a decent amount of stock, but it's not going to be as much as the demand is expected to be there for it. However, this doesn't really shoot Nvidia in the foot because AMD has no competition right now. They're not launching anything anytime soon. So by the time AMD does come out with the RX 9000 series, they'll have months in order to give up more stock and have them on retail shelves by the time AMD inevitably has their own paper launch that they're not quite ready for. And in case you're wondering, when is that, Brett? When are we gonna get details? I wish AMD would just tell us directly, wouldn't you? I mean, they've been talking about how they're gonna have a post-CES event to talk about it. not telling us when, not giving us any details on it. Well, unless you're on Twitter and unless you're following David McAfee, you might have missed the fact that they announced that they're coming out in March. So it's this one tweet that was made yesterday that we now know the RX 9000 series is going to be coming out in March. And so that gives Nvidia plenty of time, 5090, 5080 to be on the shelves for 2 months, 5070, 5070 Ti to be on the shelf for about a month, get the stock rolling, and then AMD's going to have their RX 9000 paper launch. Or will they? Because according to reports, retailers actually already have stock of these GPUs. The RX 9070 and 9070 XT have been pictured in retail channels. People have unboxed these. You can see them all the way out there. And so you got to ask, if retailers have it, why aren't they being sold? And at least according to these reports, it's because AMD saw how much Nvidia was charging for the 5070, decided they needed to lower the price on their GPUs after they had already charged the retailers for these cards. So the retailers paid a higher amount than AMD is now asking them to sell them for, which creates a problem because that means retailers either have to make way less margin or potentially lose money on this, which means AMD has to reimburse them for that, whether that's in marketing funds or other ways of moving the money around to reimburse them for this detail. It gets complicated on the retail side of things. When I talk with the owner of Wootware from South Africa, just hearing the details of how, these shipments and how you negotiate all of this, it's not as simple as you would think. It's not a retail transaction, this B2B stuff. You're robbing from Peter to pay Paul a lot of the times. So cashback incentives or marketing funds, MDF, have to be allocated to the retailers in order to make up for the lower pricing that AMD is trying to do. But negotiations on how to move forward for that have stalled, which is why they can't actually hit their release date of what was allegedly supposed to be this Thursday. That was the initial report, was January 23rd, but they're not quite ready for that because Nvidia undercut them, at least on the 5070, and made them a little jealous. Again, this is all alleged, or it's not 100% sure, but what is 100% sure is that the Radeon 9000 series is delayed until March. So Nvidia is going to be your choice right now. But as we talked about in Friday's episode of Hot News, the 4070, 4060, and 4060 Ti are all being discontinued. We're going to run out of stock of those. And unfortunately, Nvidia does not discount their older generation. They just stop selling them, whereas AMD beautifully lowers the price on their last generation and keeps them in stock. We talked about in Friday's episode of Hot News that AMD is discontinuing a GPU. It's the 6750 GRE. That's technically 2 generations ago. They're not actually discontinuing the RX 7000 series. Hopefully, they'll just discount it and make it cheaper for people in that interim. 7900 XTX. Hey, if we could get that for $499 in the next 2 months, I'd love that. I'm pulling that price out of my butt. And what I would love to see, not actually based on any specific source, but just a difference in philosophy. AMD discounts, Nvidia discontinues. And you guys continue to leave comments in Friday's episode of Hot News, so let's look at those. Swara saying, goodbye RTX 4060 Ti. You are our favorite GPU to make fun of. I forgot about it, to be quite honest. I don't even make fun of it just because it slips my mind. Haru no Ki saying, the amount of people selling their used 4090 at or over MSRP is effing amusing, which a little bit, but I will just point out that this has actually been happening for months. I think it was when the 4090D came out was when 4090s became really hard to get a hold of here in the United States. This almost as if other countries were buying up our stock and making it very difficult to get them. They were available at MSRP on and off for like several months, up 3 to 6 months. And then I don't think I've seen a 4090 in stock at a regular price. And by that, I mean like at $1,800 or below in many months. And I look for them for PC builds or for giveaway builds that we do, just trying to, stock those up for giving away to you guys. And I haven't been able to do that because they're just so gosh dang expensive right now. So yes, it's funny, but also it's like these are market dynamics that have been at play for a very long time. It has nothing to do with the 50 series, at least leading up to this point. Maybe now it does, but prior to January, it was just very limited stock on those cards. Then Tier None Operator saying the 5070 does make sense for extremely budget-oriented builders. $20 to $30 is the difference between 500 gigabytes and 1 terabyte of storage, or higher or lower speed RAM, or no Wi-Fi cord, or good 6E. I gotta disagree. I think if you're at the price point where every dollar counts and 20 to $30 is making the difference between what you can get in your system, you shouldn't be buying a new GPU anyways. You should be going with a used GPU. So you saying at the end of the day, for most people, every dollar counts, and I know people will appreciate it, even if the influencers don't. I do appreciate it, but if you're buying a new GPU, $20 to $30 shouldn't sway you. You're not getting anything in the B570 that you can't get on a used GPU at an equivalent price point. If you're looking at that $220 mark, you shouldn't be buying brand new, if that's really the make or break difference. And then Sigma saying, seeing an overclock switch demonstrated Nintendo could get better performance out of these processors, but are choosing not to. I've gotta disagree with this on multiple levels, because as somebody who has had their channel taken down because he decided to tinker with his Nintendo Switch, allegedly, I have played around with multiple switches, overclocking and whatnot, jailbreaking them and such. The truth is that not every switch was capable of overclocking, and the level to which they were capable of overclocking varied from console to console, and then additionally, the level of impact that overclocking had on performance was close to minimal. So I think, you know, just because a certain processor is capable of being overclocked doesn't mean that the batch as a whole is capable of being overclocked. There were plenty of switches that you couldn't get any more out of. It's the idea of silicon lottery. You're going to have better chips than others, but in order to make sure that every customer gets the same experience, you gotta cap it to make sure that, like, yes, it's gonna underperform what its highest potential actually is, but that doesn't mean that it's sensible for them to release it that way. Just because you can overclock something doesn't mean that it was a bad decision to limit every single one of those chips to a specific speed, because that is what the binning of those chips yields, right? Like that's just how the silicon lottery works. And how I work is not right now. I'm gonna mosey on out of here. I'll be back for more of the hottest tech news tomorrow. See you then, my friends.